Hello guys, it's Pedro. So in today's video I would like to talk about something that I found really interesting, which is where about 99% of the people are in regards to their decision making and its possible consequences, and how to become the 1% when it comes to good decision making, okay? So this implies, as you can already take from what I just mentioned, that 99% of the people are not making good decisions, okay? And this is more prevalent, especially when it comes to career management. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Pedro, and I'm the founder of Lair, and we basically help experienced compositors grow into leadership positions in their VFX careers. We do it very successfully, and if you'd like to know more about it, just click in the link in the description. There's a video of me giving you basically the roadmap on how to get there, and if you'd like to know more, just book a call with us at the end and we'll take it from there, okay? But going back to what we were talking about regarding decision making and stuff like that, so basically what prompted me to have this conversation with you guys was the fact that a couple of weeks ago I was at Tate Modern, and I like to go there once in a while. It's one of my favorite places to go here in London. And basically Tate Modern, for those of you who don't know, is the Museum of Modern Art here in London, all right? So I went there and there was like this very simple installation piece of art which had just some words on a wall that read the following: I'm the curator of my own misery. And that got me thinking, because that's exactly where most people are. They are actually the ones making poor life choices, and then when things that don't pan out in the way that they would like to, they come up with all sorts of excuses and they start complaining about everything that is happening in their lives that is not good. But in fact, they are actually the ones basically making those decisions that led them to now not liking where they are potentially, right? So, that's why I would like to dive a little bit into this, to give you my thoughts about this and make it like really clearly that 99% of the people make bad choices for a very specific reason, okay? So I guess this is just like another way of saying that you are the sole responsible for where you are in your life, okay? And we'll take a look, like basically dissect this a little bit more throughout this video, okay? And the most common thing when someone presents, one of these people with a solution, and take into account that this is where 99% of the people are, there's a good chance that you are one of these people. You might not be, but you might be, right? There's a bigger chance that you might be one of these people, all right? But the most common excuses when someone presents a solution to the great majority of the people that will take them away from the bad experiences that they are having, basically offering them a clear path, the most common excuses are, I don't have the money, or I don't have the time. And these two excuses, they tend to be interconnected because, the same people, they also say that when they have the money, they don't have the time, and when they have the time, they don't have the money. So they are in this like impossible equation that they are creating for themselves. And it's very hard to get out of this situation with this type of mindset, right? And you are creating this for yourself with your own actions or inactions or decisions. And the truth is, those types of reasons or excuses in 99% of the times are nothing but exactly that, excuses. And that's right, 99% of the times, all of those kinds of things are just BS, all right? And I'm gonna give you a few examples so you know exactly what I'm talking about, all right? So for example, when you think of eating, you have the choice of eating bad food, okay food, or good food. And you know from the start that bad food is bad for you on the short term, mid-term, and long term, right? But because it tastes okay or even good sometimes, right, you decide to go ahead and pay for that bad food, all right? Because it's cheap, so it feels good on the wallet, but you're not considering like what are the other situations, right? On the other hand, you also know that good food, good organic food is good for you, not only because it tastes awesome, but it's good for you in regards to your health, right? So it's good for you on the short term, mid-term, and long term. So I'm giving you like a very tangible examples of the day-to-day lives. So you know what I'm talking about regarding this type of decision. Now, another example more related with career or with work is when I see people with going ahead with the decision on having kids, and that's totally fine. No, not everybody needs to have kids. Obviously, it's a very personal choice, no doubt about it. But I'm talking about like those people that would like to have kids, but they say, I'm not going to have kids because I'm going to focus on my career. Okay, and although they evoke this reason, the truth is they don't do anything regarding their career apart from having a job. So that focus and that decision that, although it was something that they would like to do, which is having kids, assuming, okay, again, not everybody needs to have kids, obviously, this is just an example. The reason that they evoke for not going ahead with that life choice, which is a big and important life choice, is because they want to focus on their career, but at the same time, they don't do anything about their careers apart from just having a job and going from job to job and, you know, not doing more than this, really. You know what I mean? So this defies any sort of logic in my way. So I just gave you these two examples, all right? Tangible examples, right? But now I'm going to give you an example that it's the ultimate example that shows you where your brain is regarding decisions, okay? And that's the reason why 99% are exactly with this type of wrong mentality, okay? So this is where it gets interesting. So in this example, you need to be very honest with yourself, brutally honest, all right? So let's pretend that someone comes to you today and says, look, I have this Ferrari, okay, can be yours, it's brand new. The only thing that you need to do is today, you need to come up with $10,000 or 10,000 pounds. And if you come up with that amount of money, today, you're gonna have it. And this is like a completely, let's pretend a completely, you know, not dodgy kind of transaction or anything like that. It's just like, it's like a special offer or whatever, maybe, right? Ask yourself, what would you do in this kind of situation? So someone comes to you, offers you this, you know, luxurious, you know, car for a fraction of, a very small fraction of what the normal price is, and you have a decision to make, right? So what do you do, basically? That's the question. If you are honest with yourself, okay, and if you are part of these 99% of the people I'm talking about, although you don't need the Ferrari, although you might not have the money at hand right now, the great majority of the people would come up with the 10,000 pounds or $10,000 within that time frame because they want to get the Ferrari. So the time is not a factor anymore. The price is not a factor anymore. They just want the Ferrari. Why? Because it's a Ferrari. At the end of the day, a Ferrari is nothing but a car that takes you from point A to point B. But the great majority of the people, they forget about that and they focus on the Ferrari because it's a Ferrari, once again, right? So what does that mean is that 99% of the people put instant gratification over anything else. Literally everything else. Even if that's more expensive, sometimes way more expensive than anything else over time, if it gives them instant gratification, all right, they will destroy any sort of like excuses or whether it's time or money or whatever, they will find a way to get that going, all right? And so this is exactly where 99% of the people are, which again, because it's the great majority, there's a very good chance this is where you are as well, okay? So you need to be very honest with this type of exercise, with this type of assessment, all right? And like anything in life, you get what you pay for, whether it's with time or with money. And you pay that and get the dividends immediately and over time, positive and negative, okay? But the problem is, the great majority of the people, 99% of the people, they don't think long term. They're just focused on what is the most instant gratification that they can get in the less amount of time possible. And all the other excuses, whether it's time or money, goes out the window. They're not reasons anymore. They're exactly what I just mentioned, excuses, right? So transposing this for the food example, if you pay cheap fast food continuously, you get bad health. Okay, you know this, right? Which is already a high enough price because it's your health, right? But it gets even more expensive with things like medication or intervention if things really get bad, right? These two examples are basically where the majority of the people are in their day-to-day kind of actions or with their minds, all right? And this is basically now the bridge on how they operate when it comes to their career. Because, as I said before, the great majority of the people, they have only small term vision. That's it, you know? They don't think like what's gonna happen in 2 years time, 3 years time, five years time. It's just like, what can I get now that keeps me going with something, right? And then what happens is they do a few rounds of this, and then they realize that they're shooting themselves in the foot because they're not getting the results that they would like to. They invested the money, whether it's, you know, big or small amount or whatever it may be. And the worst thing is they wasted the time, you know? And time cannot be recovered. Money comes and goes. There's peaks and valleys with money. Time, once it goes, right? It's out, right? And so, you know, the great majority of people, they are shooting themselves in the foot because of this lack of vision mid-long term. What they think about is just short term and instant gratification, the maximum that they can get, right? Which turns out to be very expensive. And this is actually very interesting because, you know, 99% of the people in our kind of field or in the arts, right? I've seen this multiple times, and I'm sure you did too, right? They post this type of like, sometimes it's like, it's basically something that tells, you know, between cheap, fast, and good, you need to pick up to, right? Sometimes this appears as a triangle, sometimes it appears as like a Venn diagram, whatever, right? But, you know, they defend this when they are basically defending their craft and their worth as professionals for the employers, right? So if you want to have something fast and good, you know, you're not going to be cheap. And the same goes for, you know, all the other two that you pick, right? So although they basically advocate this type of way of thinking for others because it benefits them, right, as professionals, when it comes for them to do the same for themselves, they do exactly the opposite, which is crazy. So basically, if you are one of these people, what this means is that you are advocating this sort of analogy and posture from others to you, but then you are the first one to self-sabotage in your own logic, which is, again, crazy, right? And look, as I said before, life is about the constant series of decisions, and for every decision, you have to deal with these consequences, basically. But again, I just tapped into this just a while ago. Remember this once again. Money goes around and comes around, but time doesn't. So once you invested, you know, whatever you invested, whether it's with time or money, and it's something that's not going to pay off, well, that amount of time in which you did that, you're not going to recover that. The money part, maybe it's going to be more expensive, but there's a better chance that you can recover the money or get more money or whatever to invest again, but it's going to be more expensive once again, but at least it's something that you can recover. But time, once it's out, right? So basically any investment, whether it's with time or money, should be always looked at, yeah, short term, but mainly mid-long term, specifically long term, because that's what's going to stay with you, right? So going back to the food example again. So if you eat cheap, bad food, it might feel good on your wallet immediately, short term, right? But if you continue doing that, it's going to be bad for your health, mid, long term. And because of that, it's going to be even worse on the wallet, because if there's any medical intervention, God forbid, that you need to go through, or medication or whatever, as I said before, well, then you're going to have to pay for it, right? So the decision on eating bad, cheap food continuously, you think that you're saving money. In fact, you might not be saving money, quite the opposite. And not only that, in this example, you are, you know, putting your health in jeopardy because of that kind of stuff, right? So long story short, you get what you pay for. So to make things more clear, let's take a look at some graphs that I've made for you guys. So basically, I think this illustrates things quite well, which is where 99% of the people are. So this is like a graph that has instant gratification over time, and then a curve that represents this exact same thing that I just mentioned, all right? Which represents the investment worth basically over time. And so where 99% of the people are is they want maximum gratification in the shortest amount of time possible, independently of whether or not it's a good investment or a bad investment. If it gives them instant gratification, they put everything else after that, all right? So they put instant gratification on top of everything, okay? And so those excuses that they normally evoke, that, you know, too much money or too much time, It's because in their minds they're not thinking that those type of investments gives them instant gratification. That means that if you are one of these people, and there's a good chance because we're talking about like 99% of the population, right? So that means that you are choosing that instant gratification maximum without considering whether or not that's a good investment, right? Over time. And so basically the trend line of that investment worth over time less and less until it doesn't worth anything. So going back to the Ferrari example, a Ferrari at the end of the day, it's a car. Yes, it comes with a certain style, I get that, no, I totally understand that, but at the end of the day, it's just a car. It takes you from point A to point B, right? So is it something really that's going to have like a long-lasting impact in your life? No. Therefore, it's an investment that in terms of like its worth over time, it's not going to cause like any difference in your life, apart from the style. But what about the other things, you know what I'm saying? So, it's all about balance, obviously, but this is basically, how that line, looks like in terms of like your investment in those kind of examples. When you put instant gratification on top of everything else, over time that investment worth very little until it worth nothing, potentially, right? On the other hand, 1% only of the population look at things completely different, which is they might have like a lower instant gratification, more immediately, but what their concern is, what is the investment worth over time? Also, take into account the gratification, because, for example, when it comes to career, if that means that they're going to grow in their careers, that means that their gratification is going to be higher and higher over time, which means that the investment is worth way more. You know what I mean? Yes, it started with not so great gratification immediately, but it doesn't matter because it's a long game or a longer game, okay? So this is basically two curves that look exactly the opposite. So when you put the two together, this is basically how they look like, right? So, this one starts with higher gratification, but investment over time means nothing or very little. This other one starts with a lower instant gratification, but over time means so much more for your life, So when it comes to career, for example, you're going to get better salaries, you're going to get like a better profile, you're going to get a momentum of opportunities, etc., etc. This investment doesn't give you anything. It's gonna give you less and less over time. It will represent less and less for your life in terms of like long-lasting impact that it will have for you. So it's worth nothing potentially, right? It might cost you like a lot or very little. A lot depends, right? Because it's all relative. But it's about the decision that you took, on this situation over this situation. It's more about the long-term vision as opposed to the short-term vision. So basically, what this means is, short-term decisions and vision will give you potentially higher gratification on the short term, but very poor results and gratification even over time. On the other hand, long-term vision and strategy will basically make you potentially start off with a lower instant gratification. It's not like zero, but it's lower, but will give you so much better return for your investment and basically the impact that it will create for your life, okay? So I believe that these two graphs illustrates really well where, the great majority of the people are against just 1% of the population when it comes to good decision making with long-lasting impact. Look, life in general is hard. We all know that, that's a given, we all know, right? But the great majority of the people fail to realize that it's not always hard, You might be one of these people that are now going through a good phase, but maybe like a couple of years ago or last year or last couple of weeks, maybe it didn't feel so good, or can be the other way around, right? So life is not linear in that sense, but life is hard. It's about decisions and the consequences that come with those decisions, and can be more hard sometimes than other times, right? So because we cannot escape this means that you basically have to choose your hard, okay? So when it comes to choosing your hard, it's actually very simple. So there's only two options. Option number one is the easy now, hard later, or option two, which is hard now and easy later. That's it. That's very, very simple, okay? So 99% of the people choose the option one, which is easy now and hard later. And this is exactly how it looks like, right? So if you choose instant gratification, as we said before, over anything else, you're choosing the easy way out, basically, all right? Forgetting everything else. that means that over time, your journey is going to be more complicated. It's going to be harder, right? So easy now, hard later. Or you can be the 1% of the population that does exactly the opposite, which is they start not as easy. It doesn't need to be really hard, but not as easy because they're not choosing instant gratification over everything else, all right? But over time, their journey is going to be easier and easier and easier and easier because their investment is paying dividends. And you only have these two options. It's either easy now, hard later, or hard now, easy later. You are the one choosing. And every decision that you make will come with certain consequences. And this is just a way to illustrate the consequences that potentially you will have to face. So guys, it's actually very simple, as I just demonstrated. You only have two options. You either choose the easy way out and start easy and then becomes harder or hard, or you start harder and becomes easier later. Okay? It's basically your choice, you know? So whatever decision that you make in life should always be looked at through these lenses, because this is basically what it matters at the end of the day, is like what you will carry with you throughout the rest of your life, as opposed to the most immediate kind of instant gratification that you might feel, all right? And remember this, as I said before, money is renewable, but time is not. When time is out of the window, it's out of the window for good, okay? You cannot recover time, okay? And never forget that at the end of the day, all of this kind of stuff that I just mentioned, it's only about you, okay? It's not about your friends, it's not about your colleagues, it's not about your neighbor, it's not about anyone. It's about you and your success and your achievements in life, whether it's personal or professional, will stay with you, okay? This is only about you and how your life will potentially turn out to be, okay? So at the end of the day, remember this, you will always get what you're gonna pay for, okay? Whether you pay for instant gratification, you're gonna pay the price, all right? Or if you pay for cheap food, you're gonna pay the price. You know what I mean? So every life decision will come with a certain consequence. If you have short vision, you will pay a certain price. If you have long-term vision, you will pay a certain different price, okay? Every decision will come with certain consequences. So there's no point on blaming anything else, the world, whatever it may be, because you were the one making those decisions, okay? And I get that everybody start in different, ways in life, but that doesn't take away anything about what I'm saying. It's about like, you have like something that has been presented to you and you will make a decision. That's how you've been behaving so far, because that's what everybody does, right? For every decision, as I said before, there's a certain consequence. And that consequence is a result of your own making. So where you are in your life, it's a consequence of your own making in this way. So hopefully these kind of illustrations that I put together for you will give you maybe a different sense on how you basically will make potentially better decisions for your life, whatever decisions we might talking about. We talked about in many different types of sides of life, whether it's on one personal side or professional side. But of course, what I'm talking about here is more on the professional side, specifically when it comes to VFX, because it seems from my experience that for whatever reason it may be, I don't know exactly what it is. It might be because it's related with art. People don't really think about this in these terms, but you need to be strategic about your life to get like where you want to be. Otherwise, if you leave things to chance, if you don't think about things in this way, then there's a very good chance that it's not going to happen for you. You know what I mean? So this is the type of stuff that I would like to talk to you today, guys. So as I said before, I got this idea of talking about this because I saw that installation at Tate Modern that reads, "I am the curator of my own misery," and I thought this was so true in so many cases, 99% of the cases really, that I just wanted to give you this value to you today, guys, so you can think about your life in different ways, so you can achieve more. Because as I said before, at the end of the day, it's only about you. It doesn't matter anything else. It doesn't matter the company that you're working for, because they have also other objectives. They are their own objectives, so you should have your own objectives. What works for you? Because at the end of the day, it's only about you. All right? Your career, your decisions, your consequences, it's only about you. Okay? And if you need help regarding everything that I just mentioned, okay, for your career in visual effects, more specifically when it comes to compositing or with a compositing background, we potentially can help you. If you would like to know how we can help you, the only thing that you have to do is just click on the link on the description, just watch that video, which is a free training for you guys, by the way, and at the end you'll have the chance of booking a call with us, and then we'll go on the conversation together with you and my team and see if we are the right partners for each other, so we can potentially work with each other. If we can help you, we'll tell you exactly how and the next steps. If we think that we're not the right partners for each other for whatever reason, we will also, come to that conclusion, but at least you'll get like a lot of value in this call. So I would say book the call. All right, I'll leave that up to you, of course, but in any case, I hope you liked it today, guys, and I'll see you very soon. Okay, bye bye.